Your service is behind you. Your future is before you. And the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs is here for you. As a returning veteran, you qualify for 5 years of free health care, up to 36 months of college or training, help finding a job, and you may qualify for a service-connected disability. As you transition to civilian life, we are your passionate advocate. Connect with us. The Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, honoring those who served us.
No matter where you served, no matter how you served, no matter when you served, we honor you. The Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. We connect Florida veterans and their families to the federal and state benefits and services they earned.
The Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, honoring those who served us.
Welcome back for our second discussion. Mr. Speaker, for years there's been an ongoing effort in Florida and in the nation, but especially in Florida, to bring accountability to education. You know, when Governor Bush was in office, that was his top priority, the A+ plan for education for K through 12, and the FCAT test was the focus of all of that. But the debate goes on now. I know you've been involved in it. So bring us up to date in terms of what accountability measures you think need to be in law to make sure that kids are making progress, schools are being evaluated, and teachers are being evaluated.
That's a great question. First, I'll say nobody in America has done more when it comes to education accountability than Governor Bush. And the way where he found the education system in the state of Florida in 1998 when he was elected governor of this state, and where he left it in 2006 are two fundamentally different places. And the state of Florida has benefited from the accountability measures that he put in place. I think the most fundamental accountability measure that we have currently, and one that I'm still supportive of, but probably needs to be tweaked a little bit, is our A through F system. And what that basically says is, as a parent, if your child goes to an elementary or middle or high school in your neighborhood, you have the ability to know if that school is an A school, a high quality school, or an F school, a failing school, or anywhere in between. And people have to understand and respect and believe in the integrity of that system. And for years and years, I believe we did. As of late, there have been some questions about the integrity of that system. And frankly, the Board of Education has done some things to not allow for the system to function properly. My hope is that we can clarify that grading system and make sure that we have a grading system that works and is functional. The second part is assessments. We are going to be moving into a kind of 21st century form of assessments that is going to be different from the FCAT. The FCAT will be phasing out. Right now, the Senate President and I have been working with the Department of Education and the Governor's Office to work on what that next assessment will be. In fact, they're out for a request for proposal right now. The hope is to have that nailed down by next session, but we have to have high standards. We have to have accountability. We have to have forms of measurement, because we don't care about the things that we don't measure. And they're the most important resource in our state, our children, and they're deserving of that accountability. And not only that, but if we're going to spend $24, $25 billion on education in the state of Florida, we should know what we're getting in return for that. And so the debate on accountability will never go away, but our efforts to reform and to make it better should also continue to go forward.
Anything to add, Mr. President?
Well, just to say that as a former superintendent of schools, one of the real advantages of an accountability system that's valid and reliable, measuring student progress or regression, is first, as the speakers indicated, then the public knows and parents know how well the school is doing, how it needs to be improved, and people can roll up their sleeves and help make their community school better. But the other advantage, Steve, is that with solid information about how a student is doing in reading and writing and science and mathematics, then that teacher can customize instruction, can individualize the way that the student is being taught in order to make sure that we're not teaching to the middle of the class, but that we're looking for those students who are struggling to make sure that we do something special to help them get better, to help them do better. And that's one of the real values of an accountability system, to measure, but also to make sure that you use the measurement information to help students do better.
Regarding higher education, Mr. President, I believe that you've advocated, or I've read that you've advocated, more educational experiences that lead to industry certifications and more jobs at the end of the educational experience or at the end of 4 years or whatever. Was I reading you correctly there?
Yeah, you were. Thanks to Speaker Weatherford's very strong leadership, we passed a transformational law last year which changes K-12 education and higher education in the state to lash it to the realities of the economy, so that now in every school district in the state, students beginning in the 6th grade will have the opportunity to earn national industry certifications. That means industry sets the standards, industry trains or provides the teachers, industry provides the instructional materials in many cases, and industry does the assessment and provides the credential, so that a student is able to graduate from high school or college with more than a diploma or degree. They also have credentials granted by industry saying, yes, this person has achieved a certain level of competence in Microsoft or in culinary arts or in diesel mechanics or in welding, so that they can relate to the real jobs in the real economy. With 2/3 of the student loans in this country not being paid on time or being in default, with half the graduates from our colleges and universities not being able to find jobs in their major areas of study within the first 3 years after graduating, and with thousands of jobs available in the state of Florida for qualified, competent people, we need to make sure that students who graduate from college and university have the credentials granted by industry to compete for real jobs in the real economy. That's what Will Weatherford has made possible by his strong leadership. And the other thing that he's done is to make sure that, that now we'll be able to have 7 degrees offered by the University of Florida where students can obtain their degrees online. That means they can be working while they're obtaining their degrees at a substantial cost reduction, Steve, compared to being on campus. And in 3 or 4 years, we'll be up to 30 degrees. That's the Will Weatherford program that the Senate was so strong in supporting, and we're very glad to support.
Let me ask you this. How have the educational institutions, K through 12 and higher education, how have they adjusted to this, accepted this? Have they embraced it or have they resisted?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think in general, they've been very receptive to the changes because they know that what we're doing in the current status quo isn't working. And I've got to say, the Senate President has been absolutely visionary when it comes to career and professional education. And what we did last year, and he gives me credit for it publicly, but the truth is he did it. What he did.
It was a joint effort.
That's right. But it was transformational, Mr. President, what we did last year. And it is going to change how we lash our education system to the private sector. And let me just give you one example of that. Today in America, if you're under the age of 30, the unemployment rate is almost 13%. It's almost double what it is for the average citizen who's looking for a job. If you're an African American today, the unemployment rate for the under 30 African American population is almost 23%, almost 1 in 4. And so people say, why is that? You know, what is causing this youth, large unemployment with our youth? And what it is that we now have an economy that is not matched up with our education system. And so what we try to do with leveraging technology, what we try to do with leveraging career and professional education is to connect the economy and the businesses and the industry with our educational system. And so will there be some bumps in the road? Will there be some people who are not supportive of dramatic change to the system? Of course there will, there always is. But what we know is that long term, just like the reforms that Jeb Bush made back in 1999 and 2000, this will pay dividends for our state and make us a leader, a national leader, when it comes to online education and career and professional education.
Steve, in 2008, 802 students in the state of Florida were getting job skills certified by industry as part of their high school or college education, 802. This year, because of the legislation that Speaker Weatherford and I worked on together, and we had great leadership in the House and Senate helping us pass it, over 42,000 Florida students are getting job skills that translate into being able to actually go to work in their fields where they've been trained as part of their high school education.
That's impressive. One of the most heavily lobbied issues of the 2014 session undoubtedly will be expanding gambling. I mean, every lobbyist I know is on some side of that issue. And a lot of the talk is about destination resorts, big, huge resorts that have gaming as a part of that resort. Mr. President, I'll start with you on this one. You know, there are so many different interests, whether it's the Seminole Compact or the parimutuel industry's reactions or Disney's or whatever. There's so many interests in the mix here. Do you think that there is great momentum for expanding casino gambling in Florida?
Well, there's certainly great interest in the issue. And one thing that the Speaker and I committed ourselves to was that on our watch, we would not have more baling wire and Band-Aids that masqueraded as gaming policy. We're one of the leading gaming states in the country, and I say that as a guy who's consistently voted against the expansion of gaming. But the fact is, the state of Florida operates one of the largest numbers rackets in the country, the Florida Lottery. And as you point out, there are the Indian casinos, there are the racinos. Until recently, we had some people operating in shopping centers with internet cafes that were victimizing folks. We got rid of those last year. But we're a big gaming state. But what we don't have is a comprehensive gaming policy so that we can look people in the eye and say, we've thought through the consequences of having this or not having that, doing more of this and less of that. We've reviewed the social consequences. We've brought in the law enforcement people to let us know what happens when you expand various kinds of gaming. We haven't done that. Well, Speaker Weatherford took the lead this year in saying we're going to have a thoughtful, rational look at gaming policy. And so Representative Schenck has a committee in the House, and we have a committee in the Senate that's doing that.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap this up. It's been a pleasure once again. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.